The silence is quiet, and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe. And I know you feel like dying, but I promise we would take the world to its feet. Move mountains, bring it to its feet. Move mountains, and I'll rise up. I'll rise like the day. I'll rise up. I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again.
Good afternoon. You're tuned into Ability Matters, the program that covers matters to do with abilities, disabilities and everything in between. We are one of the longest running disability-related shows in the world, starting its headway on air all the way back in 2007 and now brought to you by My Home Living Care, an NDIS registered disability support organisation.
Yes, thank you very much there, Sean. And first of all, I'd like to thank Tim for the past 2 hours of his lovely show, Through the Past Darkly. And thank you very much for that bow of appreciation. Good work. Thank you, buddy. Anyway, I'm, of course, your host, Tony S. And with me, as per normal these days, is my co-host now, Rebecca. How are you, Beck?
Good. How are you today, Tony?
I'm going pretty good, given the weather's a bit unpredictable, but I think
it's all over the place.
They've been predicting showers for the rest of the week, so, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's going to be on and off. They're
Very
going
hot
to
and
keep
cold,
rolling on.
Yeah. Oh, well, I suppose people always say showers are good for the farms and everything, but I don't think the farms get much at all compared to the coast. But, oh, well, I'm not a weatherman, so I can't really... I only say what I hear on the news, things like that. So there you go.
So true.
Anyway, I'm more of a music guy, so what do we have in store for today, Beck? Go for it.
Okay, so basically I've had a bit of a chat with one of the ladies from the Stroke Foundation.
Yep.
And so I done the interview with her because she's based in Melbourne. We recorded that last week, so whenever you're ready to get going, we'll jump straight into that.
So you got a bit of a pre-recorded interview I have lined up here. I believe her name is Simone.
Yes.
Understood. So I'll get right into that right after, I suppose, we'll open up today's show with a track, as we normally done for the rest of since the beginning. So I'm going to open up today's show with some of the Doors, Break On Through to the Other Side from the year 1967. Then straight after that, we're going straight into the interview with Simone. Yeah. And the time now is 7 minutes past, Yeah, it's a bit up, about 7 minutes past 12. So here we go. The interview with Simone concerning Stroke Foundation. Here we go.
Good morning, Simone. How are you today?
Thanks, Beck.
I'm really well, thanks, Beck. How are you?
Good. We've got Simone here with us from the Stroke Foundation down in Melbourne, and we're just going to talk to her and ask her a few questions. It's a bit of a mouthful, so I'll get you to say, what's your actual role at the moment that you do there, Simone?
Thanks, Beth. Yes, at the moment I'm National Manager of Inclusion and Priority Communities at the Stroke Foundation, and I support the organisation's work and programs around priority communities, and these include Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander and culturally and linguistically diverse communities, child with stroke, people with lived experience of stroke and people with disability, as well as people living in regional, rural and remote communities.
Oh, wow, that's a pretty broad scope of people that you cover there. And it's also a newly created position that you stepped into.
It is. I started in this role in January.
Oh,
so
wow.
A lot of the work was already happening behind the scenes. I've been working with, particularly with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities in the recovery space for the last few years, and I've also been overseeing our work in childhood stroke for the last few years as well. So some of it's not new, and I've obviously had a bit of contact with you as someone with lived experience of stroke as well over the years. So, yeah, parts of the role aren't really new. It's just that there's a bigger focus, I guess, on making sure that we are focused on this area of inclusion as well as priority communities across the organisation, not just in the recovery space.
Oh, it's really great that they've identified the actual specific position for the role. Definitely.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. So I'll jump into the questions, and I'll ask the first question. What motivated you to work in this field?
Yeah, it's a great question. I am an occupational therapist by background, so I studied occupational therapy at uni many, many years ago, And actually both of my, that's my background. Both of my grandfathers, so on both my mother and father's side, had stroke. My father's father had a particularly significant stroke that left him with aphasia and left him with the really kind of what you might think is the sort of traditional impacts of stroke, that sort of quite dense hemiplegia, that weakness on one side of the body, the aphasia, the difficulty communicating. And so I was still studying occupational therapy at the time, and it had quite a profound impact, I guess, on the area that I wanted to work in. So that's sort of how I came to working in stroke specifically. But, occupational therapy first of all, and then more of an interest in stroke and neurology. And I worked in the hospital system for many years before I came to work at the Stroke Foundation, so working in a major acute hospital here in Melbourne when I was a new graduate. Before moving across to the UK, I worked in stroke units across London for almost 5 years, and then came back to work. Came back to work in the private system in Melbourne here, both in acute rehabilitation and a little bit of outpatients, and then moved across to the Stroke Foundation. So obviously we're a not-for-profit with that real focus on prevention, treatment, and also enhancing recovery after stroke. And came to the Stroke Foundation as the sole person on Stroke Line, again a number of years ago, over a decade ago, and really have spoken to and supported stroke survivors for many years, and their families and carers. So it's been a real passion of mine, and definitely that sort of having that experience, my grandfather's having stroke, really sort of is what sparked me to work in the field.
Wow, I've actually known you for a while now, and I did not know that was your background, so I learn something new every day. But definitely I can understand why you would have wanted to know more about that, with it actually occurring on both sides of your family and having to be in that experience where you are supporting people and caring for them in that situation.
Yes, and my other grandfather had Parkinson's disease as well. So yes, there was definitely a real interest for me in neurology with sort of Parkinson's, and one grandfather, that same grandfather with Parkinson's, had diabetes, as well as then going on to have heart disease and stroke. So yes, definitely has influenced my decision. Got a bit of a mixed bag there,
Yeah. Well, I suppose the next question is a little bit answered in your answer to the first question, but how many have you done many roles since working at the Stroke Foundation?
Yeah, so I have done a few different roles, and as I said, I started on Stroke Line as the kind of main Stroke Line officer back in 2013. I started, and worked on Stroke Line for a number of years. I really absolutely love that role. Getting every day to talk to survivors of stroke, the general public, people that might be caring, or family members of survivors of stroke as well. And, we get calls from pretty much all sorts of calls inquiring about stroke.
So
every day was different.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Every day was different, and I don't think there's any kind of question I probably didn't get over the years. So spoke, to hundreds, thousands of survivors of stroke and people in my time on Stroke Line. And the team has built over the years. That team has built and grown, and we now have a multidisciplinary team of health professionals who work on Stroke Line, and it's a fantastic service, Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And I'm going to use this opportunity,
Beck, if you don't mind, to
give the service a little bit of a promotion. So
for sure,
people that are listening that do have a question about stroke, whether that's from a prevention perspective or whether it's a question around navigating services or supports after stroke, or perhaps you've got a question around, managing stroke impacts, you can always call Stroke Line at the Stroke Foundation, and the phone number is a free call number. It's 1-800-STROKE, so it's 1-800-787-653, and you can also email the team there too at strokeline@strokefoundation.org.au. So a lot of my early days at Stroke Foundation were on that incredible service, and then I decided to move more into project work probably just before the COVID pandemic. We had an opportunity come up to work in the Young Stroke Project, which was a DSS-funded co-design project. So it was a really kind of the first time that we were venturing into co-design as an organisation. And, I put my hand up for that and was successful in the first year of working on the Young Stroke Project. And came back again at the end of that project. It is. Yeah, it is. That's right. So it was a lot of more, I guess, deep work with survivors of stroke, not in that support role like Stroke Line, but more in that service delivery and really resource development. So looking at what the gaps were for younger stroke survivors. We knew that there were some gaps there in the types of information that people like yourself needed and wanted. And so that's where I came across to work on the Young Stroke Project.
And you did a great job.
Really from that, thank you, Beth. Yeah, it was wonderful working with you and also continuing to see some of the content that you're creating for that particular piece of work in Young Stroke. So, yeah, it was a really big highlight, I guess, of my career, being able to work on that project as well. It was certainly an interesting experience for me doing co-design for the first time as well. After that, though, I kind of started to move more into that First Nations space and help to deliver our Stroke Journey, which is a stroke recovery booklet for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. And so that was really, really, again, another fantastic project and opportunity to engage with survivors of stroke and family members, and also Aboriginal health workers and health professionals working with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander survivors of stroke. So that was a great project to work on and start to engage more with First Nations communities and look at their information needs specifically.
Yeah, because they do have a higher risk of stroke, don't they?
That's right, they do. Yeah, they unfortunately they do experience higher rates of stroke or incidence of stroke, as well as poorer outcomes across the board really. So it's definitely an area where we're certainly looking at where the gaps are, and we're working at the moment on a yarning project, which is looking particularly at adapting our FAST resource so that it is culturally appropriate for First Nations communities.
Oh,
so,
excellent.
Hopefully later this year we'll be able to launch that resource and get it far and wide so that First Nations communities are able to understand the signs of stroke better, and hopefully we can start to close some of those gaps that exist in terms of the statistics for stroke, really tapping into that self-determination and the strength and resilience.
Yes, lovely. So the main points that I got there for that was that obviously this stroke condition runs in the family, and she worked in the UK for 5 or so years.
Yeah, she actually has an OT background, which is amazing. Not many people actually have something to back them up.
And of course, to be an OT, you have to study that at university.
Yes.
So she wouldn't be behind the 8 ball or anything. She
had mentioned that she actually started working in Stroke Line, which is giving people advice and supporting them with their different needs as they move into recovery stages of stroke when they've left the hospital and stuff back in the community. So she's doing well with that. And she'd also mentioned that they're rolling out something with the First Nations people to try and better educate them and raise the awareness of the different impacts and signs of stroke too.
Of course, yeah, First Nation people, they were referring to the Aboriginals and the Indigenous people of the country. Yes, of course.
Yes.
Just clarifying that to be certain for the listeners out there. So.
Yeah, so political savvy term, First Nations.
Yes, okay. Lovely. And I'd say we're about time for break things up again. We'll play another tune there, see how it goes.
Yep.
I've got lined up for us some Linda Ronstadt, which played originally with the founding members of the Eagles, as the founding members of the Eagles were her original backing band at one stage. And the song I'm going to play for you now is You're No Good from the year 1974.
Good song.
Here we go. That's a good tune. Thank you.
Baby, you're no good.
Yes, that was Linda Ronstadt, of course, with You're No Good. Okay, from the year 1974 it was released. Now, just to clarify something, we find a bit of an issue here at VOX FM. We have different phone calls for different reasons. We go to the wrong people all the time. Now, for people who have anything but a musical request, you must call the office, which is VOX FM office, is 4227 3436. That's 4227 3436. 36. Now, for many musical requests, that kind of thing, you call the studios, us here in the studio here watching now, which of course is the easy one to remember, 4226 9393. Once again, 4226 9393. So if there's a bit of an issue with getting so if you're on the right people in the phone calls, that's the reason why. Because we're getting people who are ringing up for different issues concerning like music. They're ringing here in the studio when they should be ringing the office number, and of course vice versa. So, okay, now I've put it out there. Let's see how well you can handle it out there, listeners. Thank you very much. Now we're going to get back to the interview. Here's the second part of the interview with Simone from the Stroke Foundation. Enjoy with the information. Thank you very much.
Were you finished with your roles, or did you have any more?
Probably the other thing that I have continued to do last year was working with people with lived experience like yourself. So we have been looking again at how we can bring in lived experience, the voice of lived experience, and the expertise that people like yourself bring to really look at our content and our information. And so I was a Stroke Connect engagement manager last year, and that was really looking at how our fact sheets, could really incorporate that lived experience.
That was actually great.
Relevant. Yeah, so I think we worked together on some workshops around some of our fact sheets as well. So, yeah, that was a fairly major piece of what I was doing last year as well. So, yeah, things have been really varied over my time at Stroke Foundation. I've been really fortunate that I've been able to host Young Stroke podcasts and the Childhood Stroke podcast. I help support, as I said, I've been supporting the Childhood Stroke project for the last few years. With Childhood Stroke Coordinator, Marty, who is my colleague. We work together across that project as well. So, yeah, I get to do lots of, I always say that, I have the best job in the world. I really love what I've been doing at Stroke Foundation over the years.
Definitely sounds like it. It sounds like you've had a great array of different roles that you've been able to step into over those few years.
Yeah, absolutely.
The next one I would like to ask you, how has everything that changed in what we know about stroke since you started?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. It was really interesting for me to reflect on that because I have been at Stroke Foundation for a significant amount of time. So I would say, when I started, there was thrombolysis, but there wasn't much talk about clot retrieval, or certainly not clot retrieval happening as frequently as it does now. So certainly some of the treatment has changed, which has been a very positive thing in terms of improving outcomes. So clot retrieval, the mobile stroke unit, the first mobile stroke unit in Melbourne, that was a big development that happened over my time, and again, really fantastic way to see the treatment improving and outcomes improving after stroke. So people having called the ambulance, being identified as having had a potential stroke, having a mobile stroke unit come to them and start that process of being scanned and potentially starting the process. Yeah, exactly, starting the process of treatment. And some stories, hearing people walking out 24 hours later with very minimal impact from the stroke. So I think that's probably been one of the biggest things, is the treatment side.
Definitely.
But telehealth and telestroke in more regional and rural and remote areas has been another huge development over my time at the Stroke Foundation, and something that the community and Stroke Foundation have advocated really hard for as well as the treatment that I've just talked about. But information resources is obviously another big thing that's changed over my time. When I started, we had our version of My Stroke Journey had just been launched when I started, and before that there were a couple of different, I think there were 2 different books for stroke recovery, and My Stroke Journey was launched just before I started at Stroke Foundation, and now we have it in 8 different languages. We have an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander version.
Wow.
We have a version for childhood stroke and families of childhood stroke survivors. We had also, not long after I started, we created Enable Me, which is our stroke recovery website, so people can come and, they can write a blog, they can chat with other survivors, they can ask Stroke Line a question there, they can, share their thoughts and feelings with the community and get support from peers. So there's also a goal-setting tool on Enable Me. So that was a really big new thing that came in my time, early days at Stroke Foundation. So yeah, definitely information resources, Young Stroke as well in the last few years. There's now a Young Stroke website where people can come the start of their journey and get some information that's, it really meets their needs. They can see themselves reflected back in that information.
Definitely.
We knew that, there was a lot of information for older people after stroke, but that younger age group like yourself really wanted to see themselves in the content. So that's been a big change as well. And there's been this real increased, focus and movement towards co-design and that real value of working with people with lived experience like yourself, as well as that focus, starting to move towards priority communities as well. And that, things like the aphasia booklet, again, that was launched just recently as well.
Yeah.
And as I said, my stroke journey in languages and also for First Nations communities, for the childhood stroke community. So, yeah, lots of changes when you look back and reflect over the years.
It
which has
seems like there's been a lot.
to see.
Yeah, it's great to see that there's been so much development, and it's only personally, but especially in the young stroke space. I don't think that a lot of people thought younger people could have a stroke, especially when I had mine in 2008. So we're seeing it more and more often and occurring. I don't know if we just got dodgy piping or things going on that aren't working as good as they should, but a lot more in the young area as well as the older area.
Yeah, look, I think it's around a third of strokes occur in people under 65, and yes, most people don't know that stroke can happen at any age. It can even happen in babies and in utero. So about 600 children have a stroke every year as well. So yeah, it's definitely hopefully starting to change, and people are starting to become more aware that it can happen at any age. Oh,
definitely. I'm glad that you said that there about in utero, because I actually heard a story when I'd had a stroke about a lady that had to have her baby operated on while it was still in her belly because it had a stroke, and I was just amazed that they're able to do that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah, and that's it. And we are, seeing again better treatment for that childhood stroke population as well. We have a project looking exactly at that. How can we actually make sure that children as well get access to the same treatment that adults do get access to through our paediatric acute code stroke project. There's definitely a lot happening to raise that awareness and to improve treatment. And I think your question around, why is it happening to young people is probably complex and maybe for another episode. But, obviously there can be lots of different reasons. We know that, about 80% of strokes can be prevented, and that's because there are risk factors.
Lifestyle, yeah.
For that younger age group, you can see other causes, and in some cases there can also be unknown causes, so what's called cryptogenic stroke.
So there you go. Unknown causes. Big risk factor right there. As was just mentioned right now, actually, yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things that can go into the effects of stroke, and the main ones to be aware of blood pressure, and other things are lifestyle, and that's a lot of the things that we eat, the different kinds of activities that we do, extracurricular activities and things like that.
Diet maybe would influence blood pressure as well?
Yes. So, and then, if you have a lot of salt can also play a factor.
I'm sorry, this is my memory working for you again. Now, I've forgotten, so obviously, which one. Was it more high blood pressure or low blood pressure was the problem?
Actually, do you know low blood pressure is worse than high blood pressure?
Well, then I'm in trouble because I have technically low blood pressure, so there you go.
Yeah, so it was interesting to hear about her talk about clot retrieval, which they are now able to do, and take out clots if they're in the accessible part of the brain, and it's like the stroke never even happened. So
really,
yeah, it's amazing what they can do.
So is that a potential cure, perhaps?
It depends.
Maybe cure is too strong a word to use there.
Yeah, because
maybe management.
Managing, because it depends on where that actual blood clot is in the brain, whether they can actually get to it or not.
Fair enough.
So those people that are lucky and they have one on the surface, they're able to get their blood clot retrieved. So it puts them back to pretty much how they were before that happened. And she's also mentioned about the stroke line that we have there in Melbourne. They've actually got an ambulance that's all set up for people that have had strokes, and so they can just basically just works on people.
So even though the heart of the stroke people is located in Melbourne, it can be reachable.
Well, it's mainly for people in Melbourne.
Okay, so it's not
the ambulance,
fair
but
enough. So it's more of a
we're
local
hoping that
problem.
that will happen and they'll spread across all different major cities in Australia. So that's probably one of the Stroke Foundation's aims, is to get one of those everywhere and accessible for everyone to use.
Well, that's he's hoping, but yes, this is just a little self-promotion right now. This is still Tony S. in the chair with, of course, Beck on his side. Good stuff. And we'll be continuing the show right after this little promo right here. So enjoy. Here we go.
If you like your music heavy.
It's Flex Cavalera. It's Vito Kazan.
This is Vlad from Best Samora.
Your big buddy Gene Hoagland.
It's up Billy from Castro.
This is Rob from Carbon Black.
Hey, this is Fox from Temptress.
G'day, this is Chris from Vietnam.
Chris from Stalker.
For the best of local, national and international heavy metal. Tune in to Rainy Metal from 10 p.m. every Thursday night, only on the Illawarra's 106.9 VOX FM.
There we go. If you like your music a little heavier, Thursday night, VOX FM.
That almost got me. I was like, Metallica, yes!
Yeah, but I don't think, I love Metallica, but I don't think it's the right...
Not for this time of the day.
Not for this time of day, but even though I know people have Metallica for breakfast, but then again...
I suppose it depends on your taste.
Of course, yes. And I think we've got next lined up was a bit of Aussie rock, Cold Chisel, Flame Trees from the 1984. God bless this Aussie rock. Here we go. Nice. Yes, of course. That was just Jimmy Barnes with Cold Chisel and Flame Trees from the 1984. And, of course, the time now is 12:36 or 24 minutes to 1 p.m. I think that's enough time for us to hear the third and final part of this interview on stroke with Simone from the Stroke Foundation. Here we go. Plenty of good information coming your way right now.
Okay, well, I suppose I want to get on to this one because it really interests me. I like to find out about the person behind the worker in services that people provide. A lot of people don't think there's actually a person that likes to do things on the weekend and stuff like that. So I suppose... I'd like to ask you, do you have a favourite hobby or pastime?
It's a good question. I have an almost 7-year-old daughter, so a grade 1 daughter, or daughter in grade 1, and she obviously takes up a lot of my time at the moment, which I love. She's a joy, so she's definitely a big hobby and pastime and a love. But I would say probably in this phase of my life, walking our puppy Cookie, who is a cavoodle, is probably one of my favourite hobbies. We try to get out every single day. Sometimes on the weekend we manage to get out twice for a walk down to the park, and so just really being outside with my daughter and with Cookie, our puppy, is probably my current favourite hobby. But in the past I've really actually enjoyed yoga and mindfulness and meditation. That's been a really big part of my life. It's probably been harder to fit in since having a child, but it's certainly been something that I've enjoyed doing over the past.
Definitely. I'd actually throw in a couple. You wrapped in a couple in one there because you're connecting with nature, having a walk, which is great, as well as walking the dog. So you've got a few in one there. That's great.
Yeah, that's it.
Lastly, I'll ask you, is there any story over the years that you've heard that really stands out to you?
Look, Beck, it's, so many. I think there's so many moments and stories and memories. I feel really privileged to be part of the stroke community, and I feel, really privileged over a number of years to be able to support so many people on Stroke Line. But I think, it's the general courage of the community that I've experienced through various roles. So I think some highlights, I guess maybe might be the best way to explain it. Some highlights for me have been hearing the stories of the incredible finalists at the Stroke Awards.
Oh, yeah.
And we have the Stroke Awards next Friday, actually. So no doubt I'll be inspired and moved
I'll
again.
see you there.
Hearing, you will see me there. You're a finalist, so I look forward to seeing you and meeting you for the first time in person. So the Stroke Awards are just such an amazing event to acknowledge the stroke community. And, you just hear some incredible stories of what people are doing out there in the community, including people like yourself, Beck. So it's a really lovely way to acknowledge what's happening in the community and acknowledge survivors of stroke and carers and volunteers as well. So that's a real standout for me. I think, there wasn't a dry eye last year at the Stroke Awards. There were just, so many incredible stories and examples of the courage of the community, and I think the just incredible work that people do in the space of stroke. Childhood stroke has been also a pretty big, moment for me. There are two incredible parents, mothers of childhood stroke survivors, Dee Banks and Kylie Facer, who came to speak at an all-staff meeting a number of years ago. And while we did get some inquiries about childhood stroke on Stroke Line, I think it was really Dee and Kylie who really drew focus to childhood stroke and the gaps that were happening in childhood stroke, the lack of information and support. And so Dee and Kylie are co-founders of Little Stroke Warriors, and they set up a peer support group online. They were very, very active in fundraising for childhood stroke, and Little Stroke Warriors is now part of the Stroke Foundation family, and we continue, obviously, to do work in that childhood stroke space in terms of support and developing resources to help families navigate childhood stroke. But I think Dee and Kylie, when they both spoke at our all-staff meeting, so a Stroke Foundation meeting a few years back, was just incredibly powerful, hearing about the impact of stroke on their family and on their daughters as well. So that was definitely a highlight for me.
Definitely.
And I think any time that you hear their stories, I continue to be really touched by their experiences and also just learning so much about childhood stroke. They just, really incredible advocates in this space. So that's definitely a highlight. But I think, some of the fundraising efforts as well, Beck, come to mind, and some of the advocacy efforts, even your story and your success in being able to, get the lift at the train station, make sure that the train station is accessible. And, fundraising as well, like Tommy Quick. I don't know if you know Tommy Quick. And
I
you've
think I've
followed
heard
his
of
4
him.
points journey. Yeah, Tommy cycled to the 4 furthest points in Australia on a trike, so on a tricycle. So,
wow.
Just incredible. He was able to raise well over $100,000 by doing that fundraising. But the fundraising just took, a lot of strength, a lot of courage. He actually had an accident on his first trip to the 4 Points fundraiser and was hit by another vehicle and needed to actually take time off to recover. He fractured, his pelvis. He needed to then rehabilitate, but he got back out there and finished his 4 Points challenge when he was well enough to.
Determination.
The determination and the strength. And, I just think that there's no shortage of incredible people in the stroke community, and I feel really, blessed to be a small part of that community.
Definitely. So I suppose we'll wrap it up there, Simone. You've given us so much to think about this morning. Thank you so much for coming on and speaking with us. We really appreciate it. And I suppose you enjoy the rest of your day.
No, thank you so much for having me on, Beck. And if anybody out there is listening and does need information, support, or has a question about stroke, don't hesitate to go to strokefoundation.org.au or to contact Stroke Line on 1800 787 653. And I can't help it, Beck, but
no, that's fine.
Place to mention fast, the signs of stroke. So just
definitely.
if you do suspect that you're having a stroke, think fast and act fast. And the FAST acronym, the F stands for face. Is the face drooped on one side? The A stands for arms. Can you lift both arms? The S is for speech. Can you speak clearly, or is it confused? Are you making sense? And the T is for time. All stroke is an emergency, so call 000 if you do suspect any signs of stroke.
Definitely. Great messages there, Simone. Thank you for letting our listeners know what they have to look out for when something's not going according to plan.
Good work. Good to know. Now, I'm just going to get everyone get a pen and paper ready. I'll just repeat those details, and here we go. The number for the Stroke Foundation was 1-800-787-693. Once again, 1-800, so it'll be a free call, 1-800 number, 1-800-787-693. And, of course, we can go on the internet and get strokefoundation.org. I'm pretty sure that's all one word, but I'll double-check that right now.
I think it's .au at the end there as well.
She didn't say that, but okay, .org.au, fair enough then. Good inclusion there, Beck.
Because there's a lot of different stroke foundations all over the world.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Not the right ones we're after, okay, but then again, yes. Not very helpful for this condition, but there we go.
But she'd also mentioned the FAST acronym, so that's something that's probably very close to my heart. I didn't have my symptoms till I was actually having my stroke, but that will be your face. If you drop to one side in your face and it's sitting a little bit lower than the other side, that's a sign something's not going right. If you're not able to lift both of your arms above your head and they feel really heavy, that's also another one with A. And you've got S, which is speech. If you're not able to speak clearly, I'm not good on the best day sometimes, but if it's really bad and you're not very clear at all, almost like sounding like you're really drunk or something like that. That's what my mum thought when she spoke to me. I was drunk. So, and the last one is T, which is time. They recommend ringing the ambulance, so 000. To get someone out there to look at you, but I'll throw my own little bit in there. If you're not in a bad condition and can still breathe and things like that on your own, if you can actually get someone to take you straight into the hospital, time is a big thing, so the quicker you can get there, the better off you'll be, and the more help they'll be able to give you. So make sure of that one, and I throw in another T at the end there, so it's fast. And it's a little unknown one. It's your tongue. Okay. If you poke your tongue out and it flops to one side, something's not going according to plan either there as well. So that will, and also I'd like to mention, as a bit of a segue, Simone had mentioned the Stroke Awards, and I had the pleasure of being invited to attend those as a finalist last Friday. That was amazing. There were so many wonderful people in the room that had done so many great different things in their own stroke recoveries, fundraising, advocacy, and getting everything out there in the community. And I was lucky enough to walk away with their Courage Award.
Wow.
Yeah, so...
does that mean you have like a heart of gold or something like that?
No.
I forget what courage is supposed to represent. How are you supposed to...
The lion, no. The lion and the Wizard of Oz. No, he just hasn't got a heart. But
I know in the Wizard of Oz he had no heart. So
courage doesn't come from the heart. Courage is
from within.
Standing up and doing something in the face of being scared.
Adversity, yes.
You know, so for all the work I've done over the years in the community, raising awareness and letting people know about what to look out for stroke, and as well as some of the advocacy stuff, which would be the train station.
Oh, that's right. Advocacy, yes. Advocacy. Understand.
Yeah, so, and also I'm advocating for other people as well when I've been visiting them in hospital and things like that, just making sure that they're getting the best care. So I was extremely humbled and honoured to receive that. I was the only person to get that award in all Australia. So
wow,
and there was only 3 finalists. So it was really good to the other finalists. I have to say they were very, very
impressive,
brave people, and they stood up in the face of adversity and done what they were told they couldn't do. So,
well, I'm guessing that's the way a competition normally works. There's normally only one winner out of several different contestants. So yes,
it was, except in the Children's Warrior Award.
Okay,
they all got them, which was great to see.
Of course, because they're a younger age. So yes,
yeah.
it's more.
I thought that we're all going to get an award, but it was only for the kids. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, definitely.
Of course.
So for anyone out there that's interested to buy a copy of my book, you can always give a call to the office, which is, could you read out that number, Tony? I can't quite say.
The VOX FM number, once again, the office number is 4227 3436.
And we'll be able to arrange something. They're $20 each for anyone that's interested in buying them. Thank you, Tony.
Radio. Now, I'm going to just get into some, back to some tunes. I've got here I'll play Stealers Wheel first, Stuck in the Middle with You from the 1972. It's actually a feature in the 1992 song Reservoir Dogs, and not a very popular film, but there we go. I
didn't mind it. Mr. Blue, Mr. Brown, Mr. Pink.
I like it as a Quentin Tarantino. It was his first film, actually. So here we go. The size of that movie trivia. Stealers Wheel, Stuck in the Middle of You, released 1972. Used in the film Reservoir Dogs in 1992. So what's that?
20
years later.
Yeah.
Lovely. I like simple maths.
It just shows you it's a good song.
That's talking. Thank you. Thank you, Beck. You brought up a little bit of trivial information right then, off air. So here we go. What was it? It was the
tea with the time is really important because if you get there and it's been more than 4 hours since the stroke started, the chances are less that they're actually able to do something.
Do anything, that's right.
Yeah. So you want to get in there. That's why I said make that judgment decision on whether you ring the ambulance or go yourself.
Yes.
Not drive yourself. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Get a neighbour or a partner or someone that can
arrange
help
transport,
you.
right.
Yeah. So, the 4 hour window, I'm not sure if that's even narrowed or anything like that. That was since when I had my stroke in 2008. So always, you can always check on the Stroke Foundation website just to tell you what those different things that you want to be looking out for.
Which once again was Stroke Foundation, all one word, .org.au. Okay, now we have, it's 7 minutes to 1 p.m, so we have time enough for a good couple of songs here. Well, I'm going to play just one just quickly. Harry Connick Jr., yes, the actor, also sings and all that kind of thing as well. From the film Sleepless in Seattle, 1993, the song name is A Wink and a Smile. Enjoy. We'll be back with another one maybe, so here we go. Yeah. Lovely little tune there, Harry Connick Jr. And now?
He's great. I'd like to say thank you to everyone for listening to today's program and enjoy your afternoon. I hope that you don't get hit with too much more rain. It's on and off at the moment, so
yeah,
can't really tell. But
do we say farewell, Beck?
Yeah. Thank you very much. Have a lovely afternoon, and we'll hope that we'll see or you'll hear us back here again next week. So enjoy, everybody.
I'd say the chances are good, yes.